How do I go about setting a budget in my organisation? Well, I've got a number of top tips to help you navigate the world of budgeting. The first one is knowing what level detail you're setting your budget at. In any organisation's financial category structure, you can have different levels. The bottom being the most detailed, moving up to quite a high level, a broad spectrum of total income, total expenditure. So knowing where you are setting your budget is really helpful, because if you want the detail, you would load all those lower categories with the budget lines that you're wanting. Whereas you could go for a higher level and you could build up your picture so that your budget sits at a higher level of category. The second top tip I have is building your picture of your budget. It's really important to start from what you know that's historical in your budget setting process. It's the really easiest place to start, and then you can end up building your picture by shaping the budget with those areas which you want to maybe aspire to, or things that have changed during the year, or factors that you're wanting to aim for, so you can build up your budget picture. So always start with what you know that's factual and build up for those things that are either changing or factors that you're wanting to build in from those discussions with your team. My third top tip is knowing the principles that you are using for your budget setting process. The first principle is a prudent budget, where you might set your budget based on prudent or reserved principles. So you might include more expenditure than you maybe think you are going to spend in the year, just to be a bit more reserved. Or you might limit the amount of income you think might come into your organisation as kind of a worst case scenario budget. You might want to have an aspirational budget where you're pushing the boundaries of what income you might be. You might want to set a target for the budget of income that you're going to get in during the year, and thus have slightly more expenditure items budgeted for areas of development or investment based on those aspirational targets. Third principle you might want to consider is just a realistic budget, where you're trying to get your budget to the best estimate of what income and expenditure you're going to have during the year. But it's really important to know, and for the users who use the budget to understand what principle you're using in setting your budget. Because if people don't quite understand that, they may not make decisions that are in line with the principles of the budget that has been set. My fourth top tip is knowing the difference between a budget and a forecast. A budget is often set as a target base, something to benchmark against, something that you can compare any month or quarter or year end to see how your organisation is performing against budget. A forecast is something that's often future looking, it's future focused, that's understanding what is the likely outcome or finishing position of my organisation's finances in any given year or 2 years or future period. And sometimes those lines between a budget and a forecast can get blurred. But if they do get blurred, sometimes users of budgets in organisations can find that unhelpful if you're blurring the lines between what a forecast is and a budget. So my top tip is make sure you're really clear about what your budget is, and if you are forecasting, what your forecast is, and whether those two are distinctly different.